Philip Glass is a famous modern minimalist composer. Most of his major work was written and released in the latter half of the 20th century.
Welcome to the story of Philip Glass.
Philip Glass was born in Baltimore on the 31st of January 1937. His family emigrated from Lithuania some years before and moved to America. Glass got into music because his father was often given promotional copies of new music that arrived in the store. This meant that Glass was open to lots of different types of music.
Philip Glass started to write music for a living in 1965 by composing the soundtrack for Samuel Beckett's comedy, Play. After finding that his music enhanced Play, he acted as music director for a production of Brecht's Mother Courage and Her Children.
He moved to New York in March 1967. In the space of a year and a half, he composed 9 pieces of music. The most influential of them were Strung Out, Gratis, Music in the Shape of a Square, How Now, and 1+1. After having an argument with Steve Reich, they both made bands, the Philip Glass Ensemble and Steve Reich and the Musicians. From 1975 to 1977, Philip Glass created a series of works called Another Look at Harmony. In 1982, he wrote what could be classed as one of his most famous works, the Glassworks album. It's what you think of when you think of Philip Glass. These are the songs off Glassworks. Opening, Amidst the Open, Flow, featured on the soundtrack to the 1989 horror film The Church, Island, Rubric, Facades, a throwaway from Philip Glass's famous film score for Koyaanisqatsi, that's Koyaanisqatsi. In closing, it is the end. After Glassworks, he released the final part of the Portrait trilogy, Arkanaton. In the late 80s, he composed a Metamorphosis for piano and Hydrogen Jukebox for singers and ensemble. He created 2 symphonies in 1992 to 1994. The first one was called Low and is a combination of his earlier material that was featured in the David Bowie and Brian Eno album of the same name. The second one was called Symphony No. 2 and was described by Philip Glass as a study in polytonality. In 1995, he created Symphony No. 3. This was shortly followed by a 4th symphony called Heroes. It was a reworking of the songs in the Philip Glass, David Bowie and Brian Eno album of the same name. In the late 90s to the early 2000s, he wrote many symphonies, operas and concertos. He wrote music for Martin Scorsese's Kundun in 1997, Godfrey Radio's Nagai Katsi in 2002, and Stephen Daldry's The Hours in 2002. From 2005 to 2007, he composed a series of works called Songs and Poems for Solo Cello. He also worked with Leonard Cohen on an adaptation of Book of Longing. From 2008 to the present day, he has still been making music, and even wrote a biography called Words Without Music. Philip Glass has wrote 13 works for his ensemble, 14 operas, 14 works of chamber music and musical theatre, 22 works for solo, piano and electric organ, 19 works for solo, piano and electric organ arranged by someone else, 4 works for the 2 or more pianos, 9 string quartets, 22 works of chamber music, not string quartets, 2 works of chamber music, not string quartets arranged by someone else, 11 works for solo instruments other than pianos, 11 symphonies, 11 other works for orchestra, 6 works for orchestra orchestrated by someone else, 7 works for the orchestrator with voices, 14 concerti and other works for solo instruments and orchestra, 4 works for solo instruments and orchestra arranged but orchestrated by someone else, 9 vocal works, 6 works for choruses, 3 works for organ, 19 works for theatre, 5 dance scores, 45 film scores, 2 arrangements, and 6 other works. That gives us a total of 291.